Okay, this will be a pretty short video. Um, for your test, you have to fill in the table. Let me move this out of the way real quick. The table will look like this. Now, it's not problems 1 through 15. It's later in the test, and I can't even promise you that proton, neutron, or electron are in the same place, but I can promise you it'll look pretty much exactly like this besides that. This test, you will have a grid of answers to choose from like you have before. And it will have, in the first hour, I promise, I'll actually have a grid that has all the answers on it. That's my commitment to you, so that the test isn't a disaster. So the way this would work, once again, like those are there, but I'm just pulling this up so you can see it. You need to know this, and this information you filled in some notes on a day that I wasn't here. It's probably, and I shouldn't even guess, it's in the middle-ish of your lab book. There was a ton of or just lines, and you filled those in. So it's just this information, but you must study it. So you will have these to choose from, and let's just look at proton right now. So we need to know the location of the atom, or sorry, the location of the particle in the atom. So you would look, and it wouldn't be any of these three. So it would be either in clouds outside the nucleus or in the nucleus. The rest of them are options for something else. So it's either D or E. Hopefully you remember the proton is in the nucleus, so your answer here would be E. The charge of the particle. So the charge will be either one of these top three, positive, neutral, or negative. Take a second and tell your lab partner what you think the charge of the proton is. All right, hopefully most of you knew that. The charge of that is positive, so you would put A. Number 3, the relative mass. That's either a 1 or a 0. And we say relative because it's not the actual mass. We're going to do that here in a second. If you remember from the notes, the relative mass is to make things easy. We would say a mole of these things would be 1 or a mole of them would be 0. So tell your lab partner which one is essentially massive and which one is not. All right, so the proton is massive. It's 2,000 times the mass of the electron. What am I doing? So we would say that this one has the mass of 1. So that would be, all right, so it would be this. I guess that's confusing. They're right next to each other, but it would just be the 1. So that would also be A. The actual mass, it's either negative 24, which is the big value, or 10 to the negative 28, which is the small. The proton is much bigger than the electron. We just barely said that right here. So we would say it is the bigger of the two, or 1 times 10 to the negative 24. So that would be AE. And then the function in the atom, that would be one of these three. And from your notes, look and read them, but the function of the proton is AC. That determines the physical properties of the atom. All right, so that's how that will work. I'll have the substitute pause it here in a second and let me, I'm just going to drag this table to the other side, and I might have to shrink it. I'm going to erase because that looks hideous. But here we go. See if you can fill in for the neutron and the electron the same information. You might need to turn to your notes to do that. Now this is also a section on your homework. It's the exact same thing. So if you would do those homework problems after this as well, go ahead and give that a shot. Go ahead and pause it. Okay, so now just quickly, just to double check, hopefully you've already checked with your lab partner, the location of the neutron is in the nucleus. The charge of the neutron is neutral, that's why it's called that, so that's a B. The relative mass of a neutron is the same as a proton, so that's a 1, so that would be A. Number 9, actual mass. That's the same as the proton, so that was negative 24, so AE. And then we have the function in the atom. The role of the neutron is to stabilize the nucleus, or AD. Now the electron, all right, the electron, its location is in clouds outside the nucleus. That's D. Number 12, charge of the particle, that's the one that is negative. So we're going to call that A, or negative 1. Either one of those. I made it so they're the same answer. Number 13, the relative mass. The electron's the one that is very small, so we call that 0, which would be right there. That's B. Oh, hey, dab on that, Seth. All right, number 14, the actual mass of this, once again, is the one that's very small, so it's the smallest. That would be A, B, C. And then number 15, the function in the atom for the electron, it determines the chemical properties, or AB. Hopefully you had those right. Once again, after this video, please do those homework problems. You have to have this for the test. I have shortened up the test to try and make it a little bit easier, but I did not shorten this because it usually is easy and will hopefully get you some quick points. All right, go ahead and work on your homework now.